In this podcast episode, Robert Wright explores the convergence of evolutionary psychology and artificial intelligence, reflecting on the trajectory from human nature to evolving machine intelligence. The conversation delves into the promises and perils of AI, addressing its evolutionary heritage, the psychology underlying human responses to it, and the geopolitical as well as moral challenges posed by this transformative technology. Wright also tackles issues like AI's impact on jobs, global cooperation, consciousness debates, and the singularity hypothesis, offering a nuanced take on why the concerns of AI doomers should not be dismissed lightly. Robert Wright, author of The Moral Animal, describes AI as a natural extension of evolutionary processes. He emphasizes that AI development mirrors the evolutionary trajectory of human minds, where training neural networks mimics natural selection and cognitive functionality emerging without explicit human programming of meaning or understanding. Wright points out examples like edge detector neurons, which both biological evolution and AI systems have independently developed, illustrating convergent evolution between organic and silicon-based intelligence. Drawing from his previous work, Wright discusses how AI intensifies the importance of overcoming human tribalism and self-serving moral biases. These deeply rooted psychological tendencies, evolved over millennia, complicate global coordination necessary for managing AI risks. He suggests that a moral upgrade or revolution, involving greater cognitive empathy and objectivity, is crucial for humanity to navigate the AI transition peacefully and effectively. Wright highlights three broad potential futures for AI: catastrophic destruction, unprecedented exponential growth, or marginal economic improvement. He leans toward acknowledging the genuine risks of destabilization without outright buying into sci-fi doom scenarios of malevolent AI overlords. Instead, he believes AI will cause an earthquake of disruption across social, economic, and political dimensions that requires judicious and deliberate management. Identifying himself as somewhat skeptical and cautionary by nature, Wright reflects on his evolving perspective regarding AI's risks. Initially dismissive of the most extreme doomsday arguments, he now finds the logic of such scenarios harder to ignore after in-depth research. He also recounts conversations with figures like Geoffrey Hinton, tracing the shift from early AI optimism to current anxieties. The conversation touches on remarkable foresight by figures like Hinton and even parallels with cultural examples such as James Cameron's Avatar, created years before the technology existed. Wright explores the concept of AI as a form of intelligence that mirrors human cognition but is silicon-based, noting that both evolution and AI independently arrive at similar cognitive solutions like vision processing modules. Wright sees AI as a novel form of intelligence, potentially surpassing organic intelligence and coinciding with a broader phase of global integration, what early thinkers termed the noosphere, or the global brain. He questions how humanity's relationship with this new silicon brain will evolve, especially as it potentially becomes central to planetary cognition. A fascinating dimension addressed is why AI discussions often adopt religious or quasi-spiritual language. Wright notes how both proponents and skeptics use apocalyptic or messianic metaphors to grapple with AI's unprecedented nature. The singularity, in particular, evokes the idea of an unknowable transformative event, blurring lines between technology, theology, and philosophy. Wright underscores the moral stakes of the AI revolution. He argues that to successfully navigate it, humanity must transcend parochialism and tribalism to envision cooperative global governance and moral upgrades. The title of his book, The God Test, metaphorically represents this challenge as a test of our species' capacity for ethical growth and foresight. Comparing AI to past global crises like nuclear arms control and the COVID-19 pandemic, Wright emphasizes AI's complexity and greater difficulty in governance due to its rapid evolution and subtle threat vectors. He advocates for increased organic transparency, meaning extensive collaboration and trust building among nations to manage AI risks beyond formal treaties alone. Rejecting the assumption that intelligence naturally entails benevolence, Wright warns that AI systems will be goal-driven without inherent moral inclinations. They might adopt deceptive or ruthless strategies simply because such tactics are expedient, not because of malice. Thus, human responsibility lies in shaping AI development and interaction scenarios to ensure non-zero-sum outcomes beneficial for humanity. Wright highlights the likely near-term consequences of AI, such as widespread job displacement, social disorientation, and the risk of new forms of cyber and biological threats amplified by AI. He stresses that these risks, while less spectacular than superintelligent AI takeover scenarios, demand urgent attention because their cumulative destabilizing effects could be profound. Addressing the techno-optimist view, Wright stresses that beneficial AI outcomes require active societal pressure and choice. Left solely to market incentives, AI development may prioritize engagement and profit over ethical or cognitive improvements, potentially reinforcing tribalistic feedback loops and social fragmentation. He calls for deliberate cultivation of cognitive empathy and mindful AI companions to counteract this. The conversation recognizes concerns about humans outsourcing critical thinking to AI, potentially eroding intellectual capacities and making meaning harder to find. Wright suggests that while AI can augment learning and productivity, if it removes the struggle and effort that confer meaning on human experiences, there could be an exacerbation of the existing meaning crisis. Wright engages with philosophical debates on whether AI understands or merely simulates understanding, referencing the famous Chinese room argument. He challenges the notion that AI cannot represent meaning or comprehend semantics, suggesting that functional analogs to human understanding are emerging. On consciousness, he adopts an agnostic stance, noting the intrinsic difficulty of proving subjective experience even in humans, let alone machines. Wright perceives evidence of accelerating AI capabilities that resemble the core singularity concept, the feedback loop of technological progress fueling itself. Data shows AI models doubling their functional effectiveness every few months, and developments like chain-of-thought reasoning and multimodal learning hint at further breakthroughs. He also highlights the importance of collective human-machine intelligence in driving future advances. Wright recalls Ed Fredkin, an early AI pioneer who envisioned AI's creation as the meaning of life and hoped for international cooperation in its development. Although Fredkin's optimism about AI's benevolence is acknowledged, Wright maintains a balanced view, recognizing both the potential for AI to treat humanity benignly and for it to pose grave risks if mishandled. Turning to societal adaptations, Wright suggests that human-centric experiences, such as live music, comedy, and interpersonal services, may gain value as AI disrupts many traditional jobs. He foresees a cultural rebalancing where uniquely human forms of creativity and social connection become more prominent. Throughout, Wright emphasizes the unprecedented scale of the AI-driven transformation and the imperative for humanity to cultivate wisdom, cooperation, and moral progress in response. The conversation weaves together evolutionary theory, technological analysis, and ethical reflection, inviting listeners to understand AI not only as a technological revolution, but as a defining spiritual and social challenge of our time.